everyone, welcome to another Wayward Wednesday. Today I'm trying something different, and if you're watching this right now, trust me, it was a small victory for me. But it might not be the best video I've ever produced. See you after the intro. I'm not sure if you guys know, but this is how I rank my videos. I try to be as fair as possible to the authors because I recognize their writing is not easy, and anyone that has written a book and had it published, even if it's self-published, in my books deserves like a big congratulations. And sometimes just because I don't enjoy something doesn't mean that other people won't, because there is a book for everyone. So I use that criterion to be fair to authors when I rate a book, and maybe that's why if you see my reviews on Goodreads, you see that I'm kind of like a high rater. Not only that, but whenever I like a book, it's like everything in my life, I give myself 100%. So I really, really like a book. Now, one thing that I rarely ever do is to rate books just based on my emotional connection to it. It's just that gut feeling of this is a 1-star, 5-star, 3-star. I never really ever do that. But I decided that moving forward with my booktube, I'll do that twice a year. Every 6 months, starting next year, and I'll explain why. I don't want to ignore the books that got me back into reading. So for this year, I'll be doing 7 months increments because I started reading last October. It worked out to 14 months, so it was October. So today I'll be reading the books I read between October and the end of May, and then anything from June to December will be on my next video, and then moving forward 6 months at a time. I do not know how to, edit picture on picture. Yeah, let's brave it. Once I start recording my screen, it means that I'll probably just make my life a little easier. I'll try to be as nice as possible. I'm sorry about all of my bottoms, my ands, my silences, because I don't know if I'll be able to edit both videos to match. So I'll just do in one shot. I'm sorry for you. First, I'll start recording my screen, and then I'll tell you what categories I'll be using and speaking as I go. So the way that I have 6 categories go 4-star, 4.5, 4, 3.5, 3, 2, and 1. And because I'm a big mystery buff, especially like the golden age, but I just love all sorts of mysteries, I named each of my categories based on some detectives that I love or not so much. So 5-star reads are going to be hands-on. Hercule Poirot, he's my buddy. Like, oh my God, he can do no wrong in my eyes. I have my pink goggles. So all the books that emotionally, I just couldn't stop talking about it after I read it. I still think about it, that I have my pink goggles on. It doesn't matter what people say, that it's wrong about it. I just don't see it. And authors that after reading that book just became an instant auto-buy for me, and also authors that if I could, I would become their best friend. I would love to have them all for, dinner parties all the time. So that's my 4-star read. For 4.5 stars, I have Daniel Hawthorne, and he's from the Hawthorne and Horowitz series. He's a detective that I really, really enjoy, but I know he might not be for everyone. So in this category, I'll pull books that I do have my pink goggles on, but I also recognize that there are things in this book that would appeal to some more than to others. For 4-star, I have Jane Marple, another Christie detective. I really love that lady, but I don't love her as much as I love Poirot, and I don't drink her Kool-Aid as much as other people do, but definitely superb. And she's someone that I think everyone should know. As are these books. I highly encourage you to give them a try. So 3.5 stars, I have Adam Dalglish. He is a P.D. James detective. I really enjoy him. Those books are beautiful written, and they are more on the modern. They are modern, and they are police procedurals. He's the first modern detective I read. So in these books, I would say that I'm putting in books that I thought they were great books. I couldn't stop talking about them for a second. They are definitely books that either put you in a good mood or they can cure your slump. If you're in a reading slump, these books, I highly recommend you pick them up. They are fast-paced, but they are books that I highly doubt I'll ever reread. Maybe. Jury is out. Then, for 3 stars, I have Sherlock Holmes. This is an unpopular opinion. Everyone seems to love Sherlock Holmes. I don't really enjoy his books, and I'll tell you why. My main thing when I'm enjoying a mystery or a thriller or anything with puzzles is that I want a chance to be able to solve it myself. With Sherlock Holmes books, that never happened because he keeps all the information to himself and then just poured it out for you right then and there. And so I have this ambiguous feelings about these books. So these are books that I either went in with the wrong expectation, therefore I felt let down by it, or are books that I can put in words exactly how I felt about it, but I do not regret reading them at all. For my 2 stars, I have Lord Peter Wimsey. He is Dorothy L. Sayers' detective. He's an arrogant, entitled prick. I do not like him at all. But some of his books are good. So in here, I have books that really are not for me, but I enjoyed parts of it. Or are books that I enjoyed when I read, but I forgot about them. So those will be my 2 stars. And for 1 star, quite simply, I have Philip Marlowe. I believe he's Raymond Chandler's detective. Dark Noir, whatever he's called, he's not for me at all. So for 1 stars are books that I wish I had DNF'd if I had any me. I'll still keep working on DNFing. Hopefully next year I'll be a new improved person. But that's what it is. Without much ado, because I can see it's already 11 minutes. Frig. Sorry, but I'll try to go fast from now on. Unless my battery dies or something. Let's go. These are in no particular order, and I'll just rate them. And because I have 160 books to go through, I will not give a brief synopsis, but if you're interested in knowing why I rated some of the books a certain way, or you want me to do either a review or a brief synopsis of any of those, just leave the name of the book down below and I'll be glad to do that. So, the first one, I have a Shin Honkako book, and that's the 8 Mansion Murders. I really... I'll give it 4 stars. I really liked that. 8 Perfect Murders. You know what? 8 Perfect Murders was a great book in itself, but it made me so freaking angry because, first of all, it spoils 8 books, right? You know that from the beginning, and that's fine. But 2 of Agatha Christie's finest are spoiled within this book without any warning. So I thought that it was a very, very unfair play on Mr. Swanson's part. So for that reason, for this book, even though I do believe it's his best, emotionally, I can't handle that, so I'll give it 2 stars because he was quite mean. Song Below Water. I love the social commentary in this book, but Somehow it let me down, so I'll give it a 2 star as well. All the Beautiful Lies, definitely extremely problematic. There's so many misogynistic things with this book that I wish I had DNF'd, but unfortunately I wouldn't know to DNF it unless I read it all through, but yes. All the Murmuring Bones, there was a nice gothic fairy tale for adults. I will give this 3.5 stars. So definitely a great book, and very interesting. You can't put it down. Arrowed. It was a surprise book for me. I'm usually not into cozy mysteries, but I read this one and I quite enjoyed it. It was like such a breeze. It is one of those books that are actually it's 3.5 stars because it was a one and done for me, but I don't regret reading it at all. Asylum is a YA kind of horror. I really enjoyed it, but it's neither here nor there for me. Before She Knew Him, that's another Peter Swanson book. It was the first one I did, and I think for this one, I'm actually going to give 3.5 stars. There is a trope I really hate in this book, but I feel that the female character was really well done. Behind Her Eyes, oh my god, that was a crazy book. I'm sure you've heard about it because it's on Netflix. I really, really enjoyed it. I'll give it 4.5 stars. I do think that it's a great book. I loved it. I probably will read it, but it might not be for anyone. The twist is like a hit and miss kind of twist. Behind Closed Doors, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best books I read this year. It is amazing. It turned B.A. Paris into an autobiography for me. I binge on her other books, and this book is fantastic. Pink goggles, fully on. Beneath Her Skin. I would say it's I wish I had DNF'd it. It was an Egg Alley arc. I finished it because I wanted to give a review, but no, not for me at all. Same for Bitterroot Lake. A Body at the Tea Rooms is another cozy mystery. Did I like it? It was a 3.5 stars. Bunny, I'll do 4.5 because I really, really enjoyed it, but it's like a crazy book, and this, more than some of the books in here, really is not for everyone. But I have it. It turned 101 into my auto buys, and that's that. The Burning Girls, I will give it, she's a marble for me. I really, really liked this book. I love C.J. Tudor. She's also an auto buy, but this book is I don't know. It didn't leave a lingering impression on me like The Hiding Place did, for example. The Butterfly Garden, definitely it is interesting because it was a superb book. It's from 2016. If you haven't picked it up, please do. It is amazing. It's dark. It's suspenseful. It's everything a thriller should be. It has one of the best serial killers I've ever read about. And I have my pink goggles on for this book. However, I picked up the second in the series and I wasn't as impressed. So I'm still giving Dot Hutchinson a chance, but she's not quite an auto-buy author for me. But Butterfly Garden, I highly recommend. The Castaways. This was kind of like Lost Done Right and has a lot of like intriguing family dynamics. I really enjoyed it, so I really liked it. A Chorus Rise, the sequel to A Song Below Water, goes 2 stars as well. I love it for the social commentary, but I've read better YAs. I still recommend it though. Oh, Jack. A Dark and Secret Place. I heard this in an audiobook. I might give it a chance when my backlog is not as big, see if it's better as a book. But as it stands, for me, it's also a Lord Peter Wimsey. I liked part of it, but really it wasn't for me. Okay, you all know how I feel about Ruth Ware, right? Really, there's nothing that she can do that can be wrong in my eyes. She's an autobi, paint logos, you invited from my dinner party. So this is definitely in a dark wood. It was her first, and I was really impressed, and is an Hercule Poirot for me. The Devil in the Dark Water. I loved Stuart Turton's first book. It's coming up soon. But for this one, I think, I don't know how I quite feel about it yet, so definitely I'll give it a, he's in Adam Dalglish. Doll Bones. This is a middle grade short horror book, and I actually quite enjoyed it. Definitely Daniel Hawthorne. Escape Room is another horror YA. It's kind of the shorter side. It's a Sherlock Holmes for me. The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I particularly loved it. I drank the Kool-Aid. I will reread 1,000 times. I loved it. I need people to discuss it with, but I realize that it might not be for anyone, so it's definitely a Daniel Hawthorne. Every Last Fear. I really liked it. It is a Jane Marple. I highly recommend it, but I know there's some, in my opinion, fake controversy going around, but it is what it is. Every Vow You Break. It's another Swanson book. What can I say? I love to hate a guy, right? I told you about that before. Or I hate to love him. He's very compelling the way he writes, so I will be reading his books, but Every Vow You Break, from the ones I read, is the second weakest one, and again, misogynistic, predictable. So, Sherlock Holmes. An Expert in Murder by Nicole Upson. It's one of those books that have been popular, in which new authors are writing mysteries that have Golden Age authors as characters, the main characters and detective of the stories. I would say it's a Sherlock Holmes. The Family Plot. I really liked it as a Jane Marple. Farewell My Herring is definitely a Sherlock Holmes. I went in with the wrong expectations. There were some twists that were not what I was expecting to read. I thought it was more of a Golden Agey, John Dixon Carr kind of book, and there were some things that really veer away from it. The Final Girls by Riley Sager. He is an author for me, but this particular book was a Jane Marple. Flight. Not for me at all. I wish I had DNF'd it. I braved it through again. It was another Nagelli arc. And I went in with the wrong expectations. I was expecting something like Bones, but it was basically a smutty book with lots of sex and a lot of romance. It was a romance masked as a police procedure, and romance is not for me. The Gilded Ones, Sherlock Holmes, Adam Dalglish. It was a great book, but I probably won't reread it, even though I reread it already. The Girl in the Locked Room. It was another short story horror, and I actually thought it was very good and atmospheric. Daniel Hawthorne. The Girls' Weekend. I did not like the ending, but everything else about this book I kind of enjoyed. It was really surprising, but in a good way. Gone Girl. Okay, another unpopular opinion. I will give it a Jane Marple. I really liked it. But I don't see what all the hype is about towards the middle. I was kind of like a little bored. I loved the female main character. And I might see a reread. But it's just definitely... Yeah, I'm confident it's a Jane Marple. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I love this series. Definitely Pink Goggles here. Same for the guest list. I love Lucy Foley. And this one was so fun. Lucy Foley can make unlikable characters like anyone. And you actually get invested in them. Another unpopular opinion. I do have the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying a Vampire by Grady Hendrix. I love him. He's an auto-buy. And I actually quite enjoyed this book. This one is, I don't even know. The Haunted House by Charles Dickens. I would give it probably a 3.5. Wait. The Haunting of Hill House. I love Shirley Jackson. She writes slow burners. I would give it a Daniel Hawthorne. I realize that this book might not be for everyone, especially modern readers. But, like, guys, read the first sentence and the last sentence. And the writing is so beautiful. But this is a dense, really, really emotionally slow and hard book to read. So much so that I think Miss Jackson even had to put in some characters on the last third of the book to bring in some comic relief, because otherwise it would be too heavy. But still, I love it, but it's not for everyone. This one I have, The Haunting. It's a short story. And it's a Daniel Hawthorne for me. It was a surprising read. It's really super short, but it was kind of scary and emotional. Runaway Girl is by Trevor Wilson. It's definitely a Pink Goggle book for me. I read it. I love the character. She's this crazy woman that can do everything from the 80s. And it was really nicely written. And I like to support self-published authors, especially if they're Canadian. Her Dark Lies. Sherlock Holmes for me. I went in with the wrong expectations. I thought it was going to go one way and went another. And quote unquote is too American for me. Is, high octane, more than I was expecting. So maybe it's because I went in with the wrong expectations. But yeah. Her Every Fear, another Swenson books. I actually really liked it. It is one of his least problematic books. Or maybe not. Her Last Holiday by C.L. Taylor. It was definitely like a pleasure of a read. I browsed through it. Hercule Poirot all the way, as is The Hiding Place by C.J. Tudor. It is my favorite book of hers so far. I loved the way that she handled grief in it. And I really enjoyed Joe, the main character. Like, he was everything. I completely identified with him. I'll pause it for a second because I have to change my battery. Hope this works. Next, oh my god, guys, I still have so many books to go through. His and Hers. Hercule Poirot. So is Home Before Dark. So is House of Hollow. I love these 3 books. Full Pink Goggles on. They Can Do No Wrong in my book. The Hunting Party is another Lucy Foley. I really love her, but this one is Daniel Hawthorne for me. Because there was just something at the end that I didn't quite like. I See You. I really liked it. It's by Claire McIntosh. It was a surprise read. I went in because it was one of the available books on Libby when I started reading it. And I was pleasantly surprised. It is a fast thriller. Imaginary friend. I'm sorry, it's beautiful written. I love the relationship between mother and son, but the tangent that went in towards the end and the size of the things, I honestly wish I had DNF'd it. Into the Drowning Dip is definitely a Daniel Hawthorne. I really love the book. Thank you, Rachel, from the Shades of Orange, for suggesting it and having it as one of her book club books. It's like, I think it is sci-fi horror, and I love mermaids and sirens, so I was down for that. Into the Fire. Sherlock Holmes, it was a one and done for me. It was really written, just not necessary for me. The Inugami Curse is another Shin Hinkaku, definitely Daniel Hawthorne. Lisa Jewell, The Invisible Girl. I really liked it. I love the way Lisa Jewell writes, but I was very conflicted about this book. It talks about incels, and I'm not sure I get them or like them. They make me feel uncomfortable, and because they make me feel uncomfortable, I was uncomfortable reading it. But it is beautiful written, and I definitely recommend it. The Invitation, can I say, I wish I had DNF'd it. It has everything I love in the book, and the woman doesn't even like I liked the plot and the way she laid out the clues and everything, but she oh my god, like the things she wrote in this book are so problematic. You know, you can write a unlockable character that people can still like them as a character, but not with this one. Like this woman, I don't get. There was no explanation, no development that would explain why she even had friends. And there's one problematic issue in the middle, the way that was handled by the authors and the characters was like, no, I wish I had DNF'd it, and I'm still bitter that she ruined. I think this is the one closed circle, isolated setting book that I do not like, and for this, I'll never forgive Castle. I'll never forgive you. Jar of Hearts, oh my god, this was like a... I really liked it. Daniel Hawthorne. I really liked it, but it's not for everyone. It is quite a dark, deep, read. So you have to go in with the right expectations. The Jigsaw Man, believe it or not, if I want with Gut Feeling alone, is definitely Hercule Poirot. Nadine Matheson, oh my god, if you're not following her already, just follow her everywhere she is. She is the cutest, most beautiful person in the world. She's always smiling, and I really do enjoy her writing. I love this is a diverse book, and it was like gritty in all the good ways. The Killings at Kingfisher Hall. It's one of the new Hercule Poirot by Sophie Hannah. I really liked it. Kind of Cruel by Sophie Hannah is an author for me. Kind of Cruel for me was one of the best ones I read from her. So definitely Hercule Poirot. The Last House Guest, I really like Megan Miranda, but this one is a 4.5 stars. It's a Daniel Hawthorne. The Last House on Newell Street is the same. I loved it. I have my pink goggles on, but I recognize it might not be for everyone. The Last Thing He Told Me is, again, like Her Dark Lies, a book that I went in with the wrong expectations, and it did let me down. So it's a Sherlock Holmes. Later, by Stephen King. Isn't that Douglas? I liked it. I really did. It is definitely for someone who doesn't like Stephen King. I enjoy it, but again, the ending though, it knocked definitely some stars. Lock Every Door is by Riley Sager. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's not my favorite from him. Spoiler alert, but I definitely have my pink goggles on, and not only because of the cover, and it also brought me to Nakia's channel, hers and Rachel's channel, and if I mention anyone else, it will be linked down below. But guys, I'll be forever thankful I have an emotional connection to this book. The Lost Apothecary. I'm sorry to say, if I was to rate it on gut instinct, it would be a Lord Peter Wimsey. It let me down majorly. There's two timelines. I liked one, not at all the other. Not for me. But I love parts of it, and I can see how people might like it. Lucretian and the Croons. It's a short story by Victor Laval. Guys, if you haven't picked any of his books up, get it. He writes social commentary through the lens of horror like no one. His writing is beautiful. And I've read a novel, it's coming, and I read this short story, and this short story for me was like, he would be an autobuy for anything that he writes as novel, but I think he also does some comic or graphic novels, which is not my, preference, so I don't buy those, but I do have on my list all of his backlist novels and short stories. Magpie Murders, Anthony Horowitz, writing mysteries. Mwah. He became an autobuy. That was one of the first books that I read, actually. They got me out of my slump. It's a book within a book. It's cheeky and it's meta. If you haven't read it, I do. I'll probably do a video on it sometime soon because I can't stop talking about it. The Maidens, I recognize this is not for everyone. It should be a Daniel Hawthorne, but I'm sorry, I have my pink goggles on. I read it twice, back to back. It is one of my favorite reads of the year. I cannot put Alex Michaelides and The Maidens any shorter than an Hercule Poirot because, you know what? I have my pink goggles. Malice by Kigo Higashino is a Japanese mystery. I love Shinkaku and Japanese mysteries. Malice for me was Daniel Hawthorne, definitely. It is one of the best mysteries I read this year, but it might not be for everyone. Night of the Mannequins. This might surprise a lot of people. I really liked it. And you know why I really liked it? Because I heard so many people say that they were expecting something and it was something else completely. And because I started reading it with that in mind, it didn't disappoint me as much as it would have if I had gone into it blind. Mexican Gothic. I really liked it. It's a Jane Marple. A Midsummer's Equation, also by Kiko Higashino. This one, it's Jane Marple for me. It was just too modern, too literary. I wanted a little bit more mystery. And it was like a slow burner that, never went higher, I guess. The Mistletoe Murder by P.D. James is a series of short stories. I really liked it. I love P.D. James, but I don't really like her short stories as much as I get the full novels. And I wish I had DNF this one, Murder in Mallowan Hall. It's one of those books that Agatha Christie is. You know how I feel about my girl Agatha, right? And the dame, she's everything, and she is a character in here. But her character was like basically a stupid person that couldn't make any decisions without the main character, which is her governor, like the lady that runs her house, who's also a friend. I hated the way Agatha was depicted in this book. Hated it. And I love X-Men. I love Marvel. I understand Jean Grey is a great character, but in my opinion, she is someone that just everything happens to her. She can do no wrong. Everybody wants her, and because she was portrayed as such, I'm very put off by it. And I think that the main character in this book suffers from what I call the Jean Grey syndrome. Like, there's nothing this girl couldn't do. She was like ominous, omnipresent, omniscient. She's everything. She could do no wrong, and there's no mystery. Like the other characters, which were supposed to be an important part for the puzzle solving. So again, the author didn't play fair. Barely showed up at all, and everything revolved around this woman. It's like, basically, if you want to read a book around a character, and no. Sorry, hon, Sherlock Holmes. Sorry. I guess I have really strong feelings about this book. But I had such high hopes. I wish I had DNF'd it. Therapy, The Music of Murder. Sorry, sometimes the title is really small. The Music of Murder is a bunch of like short story horrors, many short stories in the horror genre. I really, really loved it. Like some of them were like 4 pages long, but they were like, if you're gonna read an anthology for Halloween, I suggest you put this book on your list. Oh, guys, I'm so sorry. My Heart is a Chainsaw. Daniel Hawthorne, I really liked it, but it's not for everyone. I was there for all the slasher references and things like that, but it took me a while to get into the main characters' head. There was just something about the writing that it was difficult for me, and part of it is because Graham Jones, he writes so beautiful. I think he's above my intellectual capacity, so I felt a little dumb as I started reading this book. But Rachel, our Rachel, she told me that it's easier to understand Graham Jones if you do immersive reading. You listen to the audiobook as you read. So when I get a chance to have my hands on the audiobook, I'll try that again. I'll give this book a reread, but I loved it. My Sister is a Serial Killer. Daniel Hawthorne for sure. I loved it. It was cheeky. It was funny, but it might not be for everyone. Never have I ever. Same. I loved it for its dark sense of humor, but I can see how many people would have issues with it. The New Husband. Sherlock Holmes, One and Done. Sophie Hannah, The Next to Die. I actually have my pink goggles on. I loved it. Joe Hill, Nosferatu. Adam Douglas. This was a great book, but I won't lie. The language became too much for me. It was too crude. And it wasn't after I read the book that I found out Joe Hill was actually Stephen King's son. So it makes a lot of sense why the language was what it was and why the book is so thick. One by One by Ruth Ware. Oh, I loved it. Pink Goggles On. One of Us is Lying. Daniel Hawthorne. It is a YA, so it might not be for everyone, but I definitely loved it, and it's one of the best YA mysteries I've read so far, and I will continue on with this series and picking up more books for her. One, The Same. This is a beautiful book. I cried so much, but it's a book told in verse about congenital twins. So it might not be for everyone. I read it. I loved it. I cried. Thank you, Siobhan, channel link down below, for gifting me that. The Patient. I'm sorry, but I have my pink goggles on for that. I love this book. It was the only book so far this year that has really scared me. And I'm down for all of that. The Perfect Daughter is from the same author as, oh my god, I just got that book, The New Husband. But The Perfect Daughter, I actually really, really enjoyed way more than the other one. Is a Daniel Hawthorne. The Perfect Life, I wish I had DNF'd it. Perfect Little Children by Sophie Hannah. Okay, I'll say it's a Daniel Hawthorne. I loved it, but I can see why most people either love it or not be impressed by it. So the Sunday Philosophy Club. Sherlock Holmes. I went in with the wrong expectations. I went to this bookstore back when I was thinking about coming back to reading. And I asked it was a small bookstore, so I asked the owner that was working that day, I really love Agatha Christie, I really love P.D. James and all the Golden Age writers. Can you recommend someone in that line that is more modern? So he recommended me this one. It is a little P.D. Jamesy, but not as good at, and I had such high hopes, and somehow it disappointed me because I went with the wrong expectation. But it is a good book. Piranesi. This is a classic. It's hard, it's dense, but everyone is going to take something different. I have The Plague Court Murders by John Dixon Carr, writing as Carter Dixon. Everything he writes, I love his characters. Pink Goggles, Fully On, Hercule Poirot. The Playdate by Victoria Jenkins was a really surprising book. I really liked it. Portrait of a Murderer. I liked it, but this is a character study. It's not a mystery. I full on went with the wrong expectations, and because of that, I didn't enjoy it as much as I would if I knew it was basically a character study and picked it up at the right time. Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter. I loved it, but this freaking turned my stomach. So definitely not for everyone. But she's a great writer, just really, 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 really dark. Pretty Little Wife, what can I say about you? If I had read the end first, I would have DNF'd it. That being said, it's a batshit crazy book. I think most people will like it. I hate it because it didn't play fair, and the end was just too much for me. Pride and Premeditation is YA mystery reimagining of Pride and Prejudice. Nathaniel Hawthorne, definitely. The Red House Mystery. It's from the same writer as Winnie the Pooh. It is a Golden Age mystery. But I would say, you know what? Let's do Sherlock Holmes. Because I went in with the wrong expectation. And the way the characters act is basically like Sherlock Holmes. They kept all the information basically to themselves, and then we came to the conclusion. That being said, it was a very satisfying book. I just couldn't play in it. Roses of May, the second book in the series after The Butterfly Garden. It's a Sherlock Holmes, I'm sorry, because the characters are good, but I was expecting something as good as The Butterfly Garden, and in my opinion, it wasn't. Man, rating basing on your feelings is hard. I don't know how you guys do this. I feel like a mean person right now. Ugh. But at the same time, it's like freeing. I guess. Sadie by Connie Summers. This is definitely a book that is not for everyone, but I love how there is some representation. And it's a book that has mixed media, which is one of my favorite things. And I recommend it if you're going to read it at all. Read it as an audiobook, so much better because there's podcast elements that is really superbly played out in the audiobook. The Sanatorium. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to pick up more from Sarah Pierce. This was a book that it was modern and classic at the same time. Isolated setting. And it came out this year. I think it's one of the few Reese's book club books that I actually enjoyed and stand by. The Serial Killer Wife. One and Done, Slump Curing, Adam Dalglish. The Shadow Man is a book that I really loved. Again, it's like the serial killer dissolution, and there is one of these characters which is I love spunky twins or young characters, and there's one in here that if you don't fall in love with her, I don't know what's wrong with you. She's Too Pretty to Burn. Again, I really liked it. Shiver. Oh my God. You guys know my pink goggles are on. For Ellie Reynolds, I loved Shiver Cantrix. Oh my God. She's almost done with her second book. I can't wait to pick it up next year. Silent Patient, same. Michael Lidis, loved The Silent Patient. Hercule Poirot, someone we know. You know what? I'll look for all of them now. I've read quite a few books by Cheryl LaPena. She is definitely slump curing. I don't necessarily like the way she puzzles books, and sometimes they can be repetitive. But these are books that if you run as a slump, please pick them up. It's such a fast read and it will cure everything. So all of her books for me are going to be in that Douglas, so let's move them there. Someone we know. A Stranger in the House. The Couple Next Door. An Unwanted Guest. For Unwanted Guest is Sherlock Holmes. I think most people are going to like this more than anyone, but I didn't like how she didn't play fair with the conclusion. So it is what it is. So let's do the order of Anthony Horowitz books. So I have here The Word is Murder, the first one in the Hawthorne Horowitz series. Everything Anthony Horowitz writes in these two series. I have Pink Goggles fully on. He intimidates me though, so I don't think I would invite him for a dinner party. But yes, he's an auto-buy. So I'm adding The Word is Murder over there. And I guess the other books I read from him were in the other quarter of the year. So how about, I love my girl Ruth Weir, so there's nothing to it. I'll pick up all her other books. She's in Hercule Poirot through and through, including The Turn of the Key, which was the book that got me out of my slump. Love it, even though I hated it at first. I'll link it here and down below my review of it if you're interested. So let's see if I have anything else from her. The Death of Mrs. Westaway. Definitely the back I read from her, being an Agatha fan. Now we have Alice Feeney. She is another one of my auto-buys. I love the way she writes, and her books got progressively better. Cannot wait for Rock, Paper, Scissors. She is definitely an Hercule Poirot for me. B.A. Paris, I'll move her books up. All of them are Hercule Poirot. I love the way she writes. So we have The Breakdown. The Breakdown. Okay, I guess you guys can see this. The Woman in the Window, I hate the guy, so I wish I had DNF'd it. The writing is problematic. I can see why people like it, but I don't understand it at all. And the author is very problematic. Another one of my auto-buys that I absolutely love, I can't get over them. I have all the books and I think I'll just binge on them, is John Mars. Oh my God, I love the way he writes. The One, it took me forever to read it because I thought it was going to be more romancing, but it was amazing. Don't watch the Netflix show. It didn't honor the essence of the book at all. What Lies Between Us is also fantastic. The Stranger Diaries by Alice Griffiths I really loved it. The Street Party by Claire Sieber. I liked it, but it was a one and done. And I think I went in with the wrong expectations. Such a Quiet Place by Megan Miranda. Daniel Hawthorne for sure. This is a book in Portuguese, A Segunda Morte de Suelen Rocha. It was amazing. I wish it had been translated into English, but it hasn't. The Suicide House was like Daniel Hawthorne for sure. Such a surprise read. I thought that it was going to be but it really surprised me with how good it was. The 10th Girl, I wish I had DNF'd it. Swin is at the bottom of the pie. Sherlock Holmes. Another Ruth Weir here, The Woman in Cabin 10. Hercule Poirot. The Return, I love Rachel Harrison. I cannot wait for her book coming out in October. I love this book. Definitely Pink Goggles. She became an auto-buy. The Chalkman is by C.J. Tudor. I liked it. It's a Daniel Hawthorne for me, though. I can see why it wouldn't be for everyone. The Devil in Silver, it's another Rachel Laval. I don't think I can give him anything other than a 5 stars. Jennifer McMahon is a great writer. The Drowning Kind was beautiful, and Atmospheric is another Hercule Poirot. The Kind Worth Killing is another one of Peter Swanson books, so I do have issues with it. So let's put it in with Sherlock Holmes, shall we? Truly Devious. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I love the characters more than I like the book, and I hate that it's 3 books before you know the full conclusion. I don't like investing in books that much, especially if you consider that they come out at least once a year. Like, I'm happy that now they're all backlogged so I can get them, but I'm not down. People do me dirty when they do that. The guest book, is a Sherlock Holmes. I kind of don't remember much of it, but I remember really liking it when I read it. Lisa Jewell, The Family Upstairs, it was beautifully written. The Lost Village, it really disappointed me. Sorry, it's a Sherlock Holmes. Anything the Dame writes is beautiful, and While the Light Lasts is a compilation of some of her short stories, all of which I had read before, and I had already read the book, but it's a Dame. How can it not be an Hercule Poirot? The Good Neighbor. I really like the serial killer in this book. I like the way it was written, but am I going to remember everything about it after? No, sorry, you're Sherlock Holmes, buddy. The Others. It was not for me. Like, I just couldn't get into the writing, I think. I thought I was going to love it, and I wish I had, but I didn't. Then She Was Gone. It is so far my favorite Lisa Jewell book I have read. So definitely Hercule Poirot, The Marriage Pact. I wish I had DNF'd. The Tenant. I don't really remember anything about it, so it's going to be a bit whimsy for me. The Whisper Man. It's one and done, but I liked it. The Plot. Oh my god, it was the surprise of the year. I did not expect it to be as good. Was it predictable? Yes, for me, but that doesn't bother me. And I love where they went with that. Dinner Guest. I actually really like this book. I wasn't expecting it, but I can see why it might not be for anyone. So let's Daniel Hawthorne it. I'm thinking of ending things. Daniel Hawthorne, for sure this book is not for everyone. I read it, but I think it would take a few rereads for me to get into it because it was just so bizarre. The Perfect Nanny. I was, sorry, it's a Sherlock Holmes. I was not impressed with the end. It was so abrupt, but it is a beautiful character study for sure, and social commentary. The Prank is a short horror story, YA. And it was interesting. I loved it when I was reading, but if you ask me what it is about now, I won't remember. So it's Lord Peter Wimsey. We Have Always Lived in a Castle. Beautiful. Beautiful is my favorite Jackson. Definitely a Hercule Poirot. Too Good to Be True. Is it Daniel? No, it's Janie Marple. I really loved it, and I was surprised by it. Verity by Colleen Hoover. Oh my god, there's some sex scenes in it, and it was like a crazy ride, but you know what? It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. Sorry, my timer stopped, so I had to restart. Almost done, guys. Okay, Watch Over Me. It was a short story horror, and I liked it. I did, but I just really liked it. I still recommend it. What You Never Knew is a thriller by a debut Canadian author too, and I really loved that book. The Wrong Family. I'm sorry, I don't want to say this, but it was batshit crazy. It cures any slump. And I don't want to say this, but I really liked it. Whisper Down the Lane. I can see why it will not be for everyone, but I really liked it. 12 Nights at Rotherhouse, fantastic book. Hercule Poirot. The wife upstairs is like backstreet crazy as the wrong family, so it makes sense they would be together, right? The Winds Are Not was such a cheeky, and it has none other than Queen Elizabeth as one of the main characters. So it might not be for everyone, but definitely Daniel Hawthorne. Winter People, Janet McMahon. Love this book. Hercule Poirot. And last but not least, The Year of the Witching. It's a historical kind of horror, so definitely give it an Adam Douglas. Only because I don't think I'll reread. I went with the wrong expectations. I thought it would be more in the horror. It's beautiful social commentary. It's beautifully written. It was just not what I was expecting at the time. Oh my god, guys. That's it. So it feels so weird. I don't think I have anything 3 stars or below really on my rating, and the fact that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 books. I wish I had DNF'd. It tells me a lot. Maybe I should start DNFing. I don't think I can this year. I'm practicing, but yeah, those would be 12 other books that I could have read so far. But it is what it is. I hope you had fun joining me in this exercise that I never ever do. Sorry this book is long, and I also apologize about the way it's edited because I wing it. I don't know how to do it. But thank you for being here. I had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see you in January with the other 7 months. I mean, I'll see you before then for sure. But for the part 2 of 2021 gut tier ranking thingy. Mwah. Until next time, be the hummingbird, guys. Be the hummingbird.